Goodness
there's some
gracious.
news breaking with Oklahoma revenue. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I think that's a pretty interesting interesting facet to Oklahoma athletics right now and just the university in general. We can see here on, if I share this, on the screen here. Let me go to share screen. Let me just make sure
Oh,
you
I
guys
forgot
can see
Stacy
that.
told me she wasn't going to be able to be in the live chat recently. Knew something was missing.
Where's the share button? There it is. Okay, y'all should be able to see this. Here you see a Stoya post, Sooner Scoop, by the way, where...
Can you pull that up first? Because it's a little hard to see online.
Yeah. OU Athletics makes $2.6 million in 2024, most since 2018. And I think the actual total number was around $208 million. And then, so obviously, only 206 spent.
Purposes, this is profit, not revenue.
Yeah, exactly. People, for some reason, people don't understand the difference between profit and revenue, and it irks me. And, most people, I'm sure. But so I just tweeted out that, this is not including, and I think this is something that a lot of people forget that we are still, that we had to deal with this year. The buyout from leaving the SEC or the Big 12 early was, we only got about $27 million of the $52 million we were going to get by being in the SEC. So it'll be $15 million.
Big cut.
Big cut, yeah. Big cut. Now, granted, that was also Texas that only got $27 million, so they'll get an extra 35. So, that's going to be, hate that they're going to get more money, but it is what it is. And if you're Oklahoma, you get a chance to kind of just get a little extra income there, and that really to me is interesting because there are certain. Where's the stop there? There's certain, I think, views on what Oklahoma should do, not only with football, but it kind of percolates throughout the athletics right now with what we see with men's basketball, and wanting to fire coaches, wanting to get new staff in. Oklahoma is not in a position where you want to spend money that isn't necessary or that isn't vital and isn't going to lead to a lot of revenue, I think, in the future, or most assured, as assuredly so as it can. And the Porter Moser stuff is interesting because I don't think there's really much of a chance he's fired at all because his buyout's so much. Eric Bailey got the information that it would be about $7.5 million,
something like that, yeah,
for his buyout. Oklahoma's not going to pay $7.5 million to buy out Porter Moser. Add in probably another $500,000 on buying his staff, his assistant coaches out, because they'll want to leave, I'm sure, too, or the new coach will want to bring in who they have. To me, that's just not a realistic expectation to have for them. So that is, if Oklahoma, maybe if they got that $27 million extra or that full amount, maybe you could say that that's something they'd be interested in doing. I still don't think they are.
Sorry, again.
I, just don't think, for me, basketball is not going to be a sport where I'm going to be worried, I'm going to be, killing them to be spending X amount of dollars every year but I'm more of a football fan. I'm more of I'd rather see the football team do well and get all the extra funds, right? Like I was never big on the new stadium. I don't want OU giving $25 million and $100 million over 25 years to the arena. Yeah, I'm like, I've never been a believer that just because you build it, they'll come. If you build something that's not a good product, which right now they're struggling to have, people aren't going to show up. You can have a really cool looking restaurant. If your food's terrible, they aren't going to keep going. Okay, eventually the hype runs out.
Right. And
that's been my issue is, a new coach, say you fire Porter Moser, what are they going to have? They're going to have the same issues. Oklahoma's not a traditional power. They're not a blue blood program in basketball. They don't have a lot of NIL because all the extra money right now, they used up a lot of donor energy for football to get this roster that they're going to have next year. So donor fatigue setting in. It's hard to just tell them, hey, we're going to spend $8 million almost, $8.5 million on buying out Porter Moser and all these people. Come, give us more money. Simply put, we don't have the donors to do that. We don't have the number of donors to do that. Right. If you're Texas A&M, sure. Texas A&M has as many people in their engineering school as Oklahoma does on their campus in the entire state, and that includes off campus. We don't have the number of donors. There's a realism here that just isn't reality. So maybe you can have them next year. Now there can be criticism on why are you extending coaches that haven't really proven it yet. You know, as much as I believe in BV, there's a good argument he
Right.
hadn't yet. Sure, that's a good point. But
we already did it.
We did it. We're here now. You don't just
Let's
you
not
don't
do it
exacerbate
again,
the
but
issue. Yeah.
we've already done it.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Keep going.
Oh no, I thought I was going too long.
I don't know.
There's just been
See, my biggest thing, and like you mentioned, like I watch basketball more than you do.
yeah.
So and even then it's like, yeah, I get upset when they lose. But at the end of the day, as most, I would say 90% of probably any sports fan, but definitely Oklahoma fans care more about football being good. And so any extra money, they want it to go there. And I can understand that. I understand like why you'd be upset with the coaching situation. But I don't even think that that's a fix right now.
Mm-hmm.
If we keep all the same players, like, I just don't know. I don't know where the disconnect is. I do have some notes on the coaching, but look what he did at Loyola, which granted, different time, no different time, no NIL, takes them to a Final Four. So like, obviously he's able to take athletes to that level, but I don't want to, again, I don't either want to take $7 million to buy him out. Because then you also have to take money again to get a new coach. So now you're out $10 million.
Yeah.
That could have gone to something else. And you mentioned like we're not a blue blood program. I know that some people kind of got on you on Twitter for that.
To be fair to them, I said
But,
strong
like,
tradition.
We said
I
strong
could've been
tradition.
clearer.
We didn't say OU had no tradition in basketball. But when you think of if you told me like what are historical basketball schools, you're going to think Kentucky, North Carolina, UCLA,
Kansas.
You're going to think of those schools. You're not necessarily going to think
yeah.
Oklahoma. That's not to say we don't have any tradition.
Yeah.
It's not to say we haven't done anything. But when you think football, you do think Oklahoma.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I kind of feel like right now in the age of NIL, unless you are a Texas and A&M and you have just so many more donors and just expendable money out there, then, you know, it's kind of different. I think you kind of have to choose one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you look at Duke, they're probably spending more money basketball-wise than they are football. Well, you probably look it up. I could be wrong. But I feel like you just have to think about it in that sense. Now, I also think it would be a different situation if our football program was doing good, if they were doing well.
Yeah.
If
True.
OU's football program was thriving, if we made the playoff this year, blah, 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 and we had, you know, extra money to go towards it, then I think they would invest more
True.
in basketball. But I think you kind of have to, right now, OU's choosing between the two, fixing one over the other. And then once if we fix one, then sure, yeah, let's go and fix the other.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I don't know. I'm not the one making decisions, but I 100% agree in why give extensions when you really haven't proved anything. Unless, I mean, I don't know. We're not in those meetings too, but just on that base level, if you haven't won anything, why are there extensions?
Right.
So I understand that. Now, again, we're not in those rooms. You don't know what else is getting thrown at them, but
for me, I'm trying to figure out the best way to put it so I don't sound just ridiculous whenever I say this stuff. But I just don't. I think the majority of Oklahoma donors. Now, I'm not saying fans. I'm saying donors, which are an exception to just regular fans. Mm-hmm. See everything from mostly football to football season as just filler between that time. And they prefer it to be good. They would like our basketball team to be good. But if they're going to donate a lot of money, they're going to donate to football. Mm-hmm. And you remember, like Porter Moser talked about last year after they missed out on the tournament, he mentioned he was looking forward to a commitment to NIL. Mm-hmm. Well, that's before you have all of these guys leaving for the portal and having to fight to keep your own players on your team, having to go out and get a John Mateer. You know, things changed since then. So money that they thought they might have been able to give, I mean, it's probably going to cost us $30 million next year to keep a roster that this year costs us $24 million. So you're looking at another $6 million we won't have. Right. Unless that revenue share comes in or the house settlement comes in and you can start getting some caps. But even then, I mean, it's just difficult. So, and also I think that if you're a donor and you're looking at that, if you're Stiglione, you're like, look, I could fire him, but who am I going to go get? Mm-hmm. You look at the recruits he has coming in next year; they look like they could be players. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm not going to die on the hill that Porter should be or shouldn't be our coach. That's not a hill I'm going to die on. I disagreed with people wanting to fire BV. One, the buyout's way too much. You're not going to pay him $44 million to leave. Also, he's had 1 year where he's had a fair shake at it, and he had 10 wins. So I think all the arguments are really on my side that aren't just about reacting to things that, some of that's just out of his control. And I think you can I think you could look at Porter and say, look, he's had 4 years here, or he's in his fourth season. He's 24 and 44, something like that in conference play. That's just not good. And he's had chances to recruit. He's had chances to build, and it hadn't happened. So that to me is a more fair criticism. And then you look at, I think what exacerbates it is you look at the two guys that left Oklahoma. One goes to Houston, is probably one of their best players.
Right.
And then the other kid's at Kentucky. Is that right? And he's doing
I'm really
well
bad
too.
about once they leave OU. I'm like, all right, bye.
And
Forget.
right. And it just makes it I think that much worse. It's like salt on the wound kind of stuff where
Right.
It's like, man, what happened? Like how come Oklahoma always deals with this, stuff about, Oklahoma's having to deal with like guys leaving us and being successful. Whenever they were here, they struggle. But so I'm just trying to look at the numbers right now. He makes 3.3 million this year, and he'll go up to 3.4, then 3.5 in 2028. His buyout a season ago would have been 10.2 million. So the more the more seasons he gets, the cheaper it is. But Castiglione's reason for a extension, well, they gave him a raise of $100,000, and it's like we wanted to show appreciation and appreciate him providing in leadership. It's like, yeah, but we need to do something. I mean, like,
Right.
what is he? I hate to be like,
I mean,
he seems like a
coaches'
great guy,
jobs
but
are to win at the end of the day. Like leadership, yeah, that's great. We love that, but like, you should, as a coach, you're automatically a leader. To me, you don't get rewarded for doing the bare minimum. Like, you don't applaud a fish for swimming. You know, so it's like you're not gonna.
Yeah.
Why do you applaud a coach for leadership? Like, that's what they should be
True.
doing. That's like in your resume.
Yeah.
Like that's what you're supposed to do. So like that's what I don't understand. I don't understand the extensions without truly winning the conference, having a winning record.
yeah,
I say having a winning record that for basketball, but like for football, no. I'm saying for winning the conference, like making it to the conference championship. I mean, you could be rewarded for those, making the NCAA tournament, but for leadership, that doesn't make sense to me. But
and the losses they've had has just been very like just a
they've
nightmare,
been so annoying.
a nightmare. But
we'll get there too.
yeah, we'll get there. Yeah.
But again, I think I'm with you on the sense, like, I really don't care either way as far as, like, stay or go, because I don't think the fix is happening probably anytime soon. I do care that I do want them to be good, because I'm tired of watching these games and being disappointed in the end and spending, however many hours it is watching it, and then just to be disappointed in the end. But it's fine. It's life of being a sports fan. You're either happy or disappointed at the end. But as far as, like, if I just think on, like, a money level,
Yeah.
in the age of, it'd be different if we were in the age of NIL. We are in the age of NIL. That money could be better served elsewhere. It could be better served to get you maybe some better basketball players instead
Sure.
of using that buyout. At the very minimum, now for most OU fans, they'd rather see $6-7 million go to football. Period. I hate saying that but it is what it is. That is the cash cow of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And so people would rather see that money go there. Now, granted, we've kind of more or less kind of got that settled out. So now if you have the extra money, maybe put it towards players. But I still don't see how Jeremiah Fears is,
I don't
drafted
either.
where he is, but
that whatever that
I'm
I don't
not
either.
a
But it
recruit.
Moser's 23-43 conference record as OU's head coach.
That's not good.
They
all.
were so I get people wanting to spend more on the basketball team and wanting to get more NIL. I think the problem is that like that discussion has to happen whenever you're funding the football team at the same time.
I was going to say, the people who want that to happen are the people who aren't donating.
Yeah, true.
The people that want that to happen
Well, and
are just fans that want the rich people to do it. But those rich people, like you said, they're more football fans.
Yeah.
Or just they like the university, so they're going to donate to just the university, like we mentioned for the library or, some other type of program, but they're going to donate to football. So it's like they are OU football fans and they prefer OU basketball to be good, but it's not their concern right now. If they have extra money, they want it to go towards their preferred sport. And we have so few big money, like hundreds of $1 million donors that's just where we're at.
So yeah, and I have it on good authority that Oklahoma probably has around 10 donors that have 100 million, north of 100 million net worth. Texas and those teams have over 100. A&M has probably over 100 too. So you're talking about, imagine Oklahoma having to ask the same 10 people all the time for donations, where Texas gets to cycle 100 people before they even have to repeat the list. Mm-hmm. So you're just being hit constantly as an OU fan, and you're like, and it goes to your dad pointed out, how different would it be if the football team was successful? Right. It's like, hey,
I just pointed that out too.
Hey, sorry about that. Hey, how maybe they would donate more to get the basketball team going if we had a successful football team. And we just don't. I mean, soon enough, especially if nothing changes, which it looks like the House settlement has some hiccups, some other issues that they're trying to work out. There's gonna be a time when literally no one will say it on the university side because it's just too insensitive, I guess. It's gonna be either you increase ticket prices, or you just ask people, say, hey, we got to have more donations. Arkansas's coach got crap for doing that. He's 100% in the right. Money runs everything. Oklahoma doesn't have enough big money donors to fund everything.
Right, and we've talked about it before. We're like, anytime you go on to like any of these donation sites, it's like you have to pledge not a high amount, but like an amount that you just don't want to.
Yeah.
We're like, if you could let people decide what they wanted, $1,
$2 a month,
$2,
get 100 people to do that.
It adds up over time.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, on an OU game day, on a football day, like they made fun of OSU essentially, but like put a QR code up there that goes to One Oklahoma and say you can give just a one-time donation. Mm-hmm. Shoot, after people have been drinking all morning, they might give you 85,000 people giving you $1.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's $85,000.
Yep.
I mean, that can go towards something, but imagine, okay, now they give $5. Now they give $10. Now they give,
yep.
If everybody in the stadium gave like something like that, like that's something easy that I feel like you could collect, but.
Yeah, and here's also what's going to happen too. Eventually, Texas and Oklahoma will play home and homes. You won't play in Dallas anymore.
We mentioned that. Yeah,
yep. They won't play in Dallas anymore. There's no point in it. It's a terrible stadium. They were supposed to already have the remodel halfway done. They haven't even started. And not only that, but you can have the home team get concessions and more of the ticket sales, and they're bigger stadiums. Mm-hmm. And I get people like tradition, but NIL's taught us tradition doesn't mean much. It's about how much money you have, and eventually, when it comes down to the bottom line. It's a cool sight on TV. My dad's coaching the game. He talks about how cool it is all the time. At the end of the day, money's more important than the cool factor and tradition. I don't think it. I hate that. It's not what I want. It's just what everyone's said matters. Mm-hmm. We have to pay the players, so that's what's going to happen. So again, there's going to be a lot of just stuff happen that everyone's going to throw a fit about. End of the day, it's about money in, money out. In the comments, it said, time to defund sports that carry. They will eventually.
The thing. They are, yes, but like time to defund sports that carry dead weight. Softball's gone.
Yeah, they're all. I mean,
gymnastics is gone.
Well, and also
baseball's gone.
Men's basketball's gone if they didn't have March Madness. And I don't know. Yeah. There's a Twitter account I like, the Porter Moser guy. His name's Porter Moser Stan, and I would like to ask him. I don't know, but I feel like, there are. I don't know how much you get if you don't make the tournament of the actual share of March Madness, because the only reason we're in revenue is because you get a portion of the billion that you get that the teams get from March Madness. I don't know if it goes to conferences and the conference then divvies it up, or if it goes you get a share, and then that share might increase the further in the tournament you get. I need to look at that, but there's a lot of stuff that just affects what is and isn't being spent and how the money is going. So, at the end of the day, football runs everything. Football is the only sport that generates money for everybody, actually. I mean, it just does. So whatever football wants, they're going to get. As they should. They make all the money. Sorry. What is it called? The Rainmaker? There are law firms where rainmakers are not good attorneys, but they have all the clients. Guess who gets to make all the decisions? Mm-hmm. That person. Like there are, one of them was a horrible case, and now the Murdaugh cases, but, it's just what happens. I mean, like, so, anyways, I'm getting on a soapbox, I guess. But stuff just.
And again, that's not, again, I played women's basketball. I don't want to see women's basketball programs going away.
True.
But Patty mentioned part of the reason why she went on her tour through California instead of the Mary Nutter was to bring some income into those programs because people are losing softball programs already for funding.
Didn't one of them want to have the game for free, and Patty said no?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Loyola Marymount. Loyola something. One of the Loyolas said like, we won't charge and you know what, we won't charge so we make sure we have a crowd. She's like, well, I'm not coming if you don't charge. Like that's the whole reason I'm coming.
Yeah, to help you get money.
Because they really still thought that nobody was gonna come. So they thought they, just open the gates and then they'll have a crowd. And Patty's like, no, people are gonna come watch OU. Like OU fans will fly out to your college.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna happen. And of course
definitely.
they were full. They brought in temporary stands, packed house, tickets sold out in 10 minutes. I love it. And here's the thing. That's happening in softball, but they're still not a revenue-producing sport.
Nope.
And so you're saying cut the dead weight. Something we love's gone.
Yep.
And I hate, that's one thing I hate as a female athlete, ex-female athlete. Because I'm not an athlete anymore. But is seeing female sports go.
How is Title IX going to affect everything? Well, that's a good question from a very brilliant coach, by the way. That's my father. Hello. The Trump administration had new guidance come out. Again, guidance doesn't mean anything. Like when you see that an agency issued guidance, agencies can't issue anything that has any binding effect unless they go through certain processes. Well, I mean, there's just certain processes they have to go through Congress. So if they issue guidance, that's just them saying they think it should go this. They think it should go this way. If it's not issued through like an actual, I think it's the rules. No, Rules Enabling Act is different. I think it's through. Oh my gosh, my brain's.
I have no idea. You've been the one that's read on it.
Oh gosh, it's bothering me what the actual policy is called. Anyways, it has to go through Congress, has to get approved, go through committee, and then you can have an agency formed, and then they can actually make rules that are binding on people, like the EPA has and things of that sort. But if they just issue guidance, that has no real effect on anybody, other than it might be influential or might just affect maybe how a judge sees it if that's what the policy reason is behind it. But other than that, I don't. So the Biden administration had gave guidance before he was out of office for Title IX to have to be, which was a ridiculous idea on its face. Like politics aside, I'm not getting that, but just there is no way any school is going to say that football should have to split money with like women's basketball or something. The amount of they shouldn't have to split money with men's basketball. I mean, like football creates you should be divvied up based on a pro rata share of the amount of revenue you drive in, and then obviously to an extent, like you can't give all of it to football, and so the Trump administration came out and gave new guidance, again, not binding on anybody, but would just say that revenue generated through NIL does not have to be subject to Title IX restrictions. Title IX restrictions basically meaning, among many other things, but in simple terms, just that even distribution between male and female sports, that all, same opportunity basically, and a window of opportunity for certain acts. But I would think, generally, eventually when it's through the courts, I think that they're going to rule that you have to provide the same opportunity for NIL opportunities for men and women, obviously, and then based on that, as long as the opportunities are the same, the money doesn't have to be the same. So if it's not, it's not. That's just what the market says the money is, which it won't be. But that's the only way you could ever. That's the only reasonable outcome I think that actually could be sustainable. Right. Because there's just no way that you're going to give, football X amount of dollars. If they bring in $200 million a year, you give them 100 of it, and then 100 million to everyone else. I mean, it just seems like it wouldn't be. I don't know. I just think that's ripe to cause a lot of issues. Right,
and I agree to an extent. I just from the nature of the beast, football has to fund other things. So no, I don't think they should get every single dollar. Right. Because I like other sports, and I like my female sports, and my female sports don't make money, and I hate saying that. Now, I do agree that the starting quarterback shouldn't. I mean, the girls, our starting pitcher for softball, as much as I love softball, should not get paid the same as starting quarterback, because the starting quarterback is technically bringing in more money. Yeah. So I do agree to that extent. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think obviously the starting pitcher shouldn't get NIL and shouldn't, be in commercials or whatever it is and be able to use her NIL. I just don't think it should have to, like you mentioned, have to be oh, well, then all the female athletes have to make the same. True. Just because, just how it is. But I think the benefit of being at OU is if you are a softball player, you are pretty big. So that's good.
Well, and I think that's the big selling point for the softball team and all that. I think that would be probably.
I don't know, it's a mess. I'm tired. I feel like every time we turn on our show, it's something new with NIL
Right.
and something new with the new law or something, and it's exhausting.
Oh, but so a lot of people. I had someone message me and ask, why did we choose to leave the SEC, leave for the SEC, and why did we do all of this stuff, and blah, why? What was the point of it? Ross Dellinger, reporter, talks about the college football playoff a lot. Talks about the setting up of it. Basically, came out and said, look, the SEC and the Big Ten were in serious talks to kind of go their own way, and because of that, they had a. I mean, they basically are going to, it's going to probably expand to 16 teams. I don't think it'll even stop there. Eventually, it'll keep expanding. And when it does, the SEC and the Big Ten, according to what he saw, are going to have basically they're going to get to decide what the makeup is of that playoff. So they get to decide, like, there'll be a guaranteed 4 spots for the SEC and guaranteed 4 for the Big Ten. No other school will get guaranteed 4. But it's because they were mad because, again, like, people laughed at Lane Kiffin, but I think like, if you just take Lane Kiffin has this ability to say things that sometimes seem ridiculous until you think about them for a couple seconds, and you're like, he's got a point.
He just kind of comes off goofy.
He does. But he said, like, why would we play? Why would we risk playing in this game if we lose it? And everyone was like, oh, for the competitiveness, guys. I get that used to be the thing, but when you are playing teams like Oklahoma had this year, we're gonna have the hardest schedule in the country next year. And you're risking losing another game in the conference title game, which I know people say that the committee doesn't hold against you. They do. They see another L, another number in your another loss. So say you were 9-3, now you're 9-4. That looks a lot different. Say you were 9-2, now you're 9-3. It looks a lot different. 10-3. But and he was like, well, why would you play if it's just risking you losing again? And people were like, oh, you're not. He's like, no, I mean, I'm just realistic. Like I don't want the loss if it risks us losing.
Yeah, I don't want the loss in a conference game if it risks us not getting to play for a national title.
Exactly. So and so what they were mad. They basically were like, look, we don't want to keep playing in this playoff if it's going to be, we get so penalized for having the depth of talent, especially in the SEC that they have. And they also are going to get to play a lot more of just cross game. Like Ohio State's going to play a lot more SEC games later on. Penn State as well. They're going to be able to play more SEC games, and you won't have to worry so much about why schedule good teams in the off season or out of conference. I mean, not off season, but
makes sense.
So that's basically the big reason. Is just they have. I mean, they're the two conferences that run college football. So that's why you join, and I think they're going to get up to $70 million whenever they renew. 2026 is when it's going to happen because that's when the contract with the College Football Playoff, by the way, which is an LLC. It's an actual company, the College Football Playoff. It's not like college football's playoff. It's the company is literally the college football playoff. So that's kind of neat. Yeah. Huh. So that's whenever the contract with the college football playoff renews with ESPN. That's probably when the new expansion will come as well. So it'll be a interesting time, especially whenever you're looking at automatic bids and how that's going to work out as well. So I just think they got tired. I think what I think they'll end up doing is the conference champion will just be
people made fun of him too, but I see the point where he was making too when with his team, being 3 losses, and he was like, yeah, we could have beat these teams. Like when he was like actively trolling online, I was like, yeah. Like I see what he means. Yeah. And same, I mean, I thought the same for, a couple other teams, but yeah, it's just the ever-changing landscape that is just going to continue to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, there was some house settlement news. It's not official, so I'm not going to waste time on explaining it, but there was some news on how they're going to do the revenue share, how they're going to come up with the cap, what that cap's going to be, and other things of that sort. But until that's actually final, I'm not really going to stress about going through the details and all that. So